Look, when it comes to crash landing starships in any sci-fi show or movie, it's hard to walk away without at least scratching the paintwork. In the case of the USS Enterprise-D, they lost the Stardrive, and then the saucer section crash-landed on the surface of a nearby planet.
Oh, shit.
So all in all, how in the world did they recover the saucer section for use 20 years down the line? Star Trek Picard Season 3 reunited the Next Generation crew with their last member, the Galaxy-class USS Enterprise-D. But how did the Enterprise-D return after its destruction over Veridian 3? In this video, we look at how it was repaired, both from Star Trek Picard and some other sources from the Roddenberry archives. Let's take a look at our latest Star Trek Explained video. Welcome to Trek Central, lords, ladies, and sovereigns. I'm your host, Lieutenant Commander Adam, and as always, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. Now, before we talk about how the Enterprise-D returned, we first have to talk about how it was destroyed in the first place. Now, don't worry. If you already know the story, then you can make like Q and use the chapter sections via YouTube. Just click on the next section, and we'll see you there. Let's make it so. In 2371, the USS Enterprise Naval Construction Contract 1701 Delta had picked up a distress call from a Federation space station in the Amargosa system. This humble observatory had been attacked by the Romulans, who were searching for trilithium, a compound which was a nuclear inhibitor that could stop all fusion within a star, by way of a quantum implosion. The trilithium was stolen from the Romulans in a raid by the Klingon Duras sisters, who, after being ousted from the Klingon Empire during the Klingon Civil War, were looking for ways to regain their power to retake the Empire. They made a deal with Dr. Tolian Soren to yoink the trilithium so that they could gain a trilithium-based weapon to aid in the mission of conquest, and probably scare other Klingon houses to join their crusade in taking over the Klingon Empire. Dr. Soren had a secret laboratory on the Amargosa Observatory, which is where he was experimenting with trilithium weaponry to destroy the Amargosa star and change the course of a spatial anomaly known as the Nexus Ribbon, which he had longed to safely return to after his prior encounter with it in 2293. And no, blowing up the star that you are immediately adjacent to in the name of flinging yourself out into the cold vacuum of space and hoping that a giant energy anomaly grabs you bodily from this frozen prison of vacuum-sealed death doesn't make any sense to me either. But it worked for him, so, more power to him. Or not, because, blowing up stars and things. Anyway. That encounter with the Nexus also affected the Excelsior-class USS Enterprise-B and a younger Guinan, each of whom became ensnared in the Nexus tides when a pair of Elorian refugee ships, fleeing the Borg Collective's attempt to overcome their angst by seeking listening ears and in typical fashion assimilating the entire Elorian homeworld, sought refuge within the United Federation of Planets. Only 47 of these refugees were rescued from the Nexus, thanks Scotty, at the cost of many Bothan lives, including James T. Kirk, who sacrificed his life to help the Enterprise-B escape the ribbon safely. Back to the present, sort of. Thanks to the capture of Geordi LaForge and the tampering with his visor, the Duras sisters were able to heavily damage the USS Enterprise-D by bypassing their shields, before being destroyed themselves. Whoops. The damage would cause a warp core breach on the Enterprise-D, and the ship would be evacuated through saucer separation. Though the Stardrive section was destroyed, #poor Stardrive, I love saying that, the saucer of the Enterprise would crash into the planet of Veridian 3. Thanks to the piloting of Commander Deanna Troi and the expertise of Commander Data, they managed to restore thruster control and level their descent, which ensured minimal casualties in the saucer. It is said in a cut scene from Star Trek Generations that 18 crew members were lost in the crash, and the rescue efforts led by Dr. Crusher lasted several days to find any remaining crew members that required rescue and medical attention. Due to the damage, the saucer section could not return to orbit by itself. Yeah, I imagine so. Therefore, the Enterprise-D's crew was rescued by 3 Starfleet vessels, including the Nebula-class USS Farragut, an Rebirth-class ship, and a Miranda-class ship. The nearby planet of Veridian 4 was home to a pre-industrial age civilization, so due to Prime Directive concerns, the crashed saucer section would be recovered from the surface of the nearby Veridian 3. Starfleet would recover the saucer section from the surface, taking time and effort. Instead of simply dismantling it and removing its parts, the whole damn thing would be recovered in one go. This seemed like a massive effort, and some footage of Starfleet recovering the saucer from the Roddenberry archive would include setting up massive installations and using heavy lifters to either power the saucer enough to get its thrusters working, to assist it into space, or simply by lifting the saucer themselves. Where this saucer would be moved to is unknown, though it is believed it was moved straight to the Anthem Prime Starfleet Ship Museum. And without further ado, welcome back to those who decided to skip the first 6 minutes of this video in its entirety. You've made it just in time for us to talk about Star Trek Picard again. Hurrah! Picard informed us that Geordi LaForge would be involved with efforts at Utopia Planitia during the Romulan relocation effort that was undertaken by Starfleet in the 2380s. At some time between the years of 2385 and 2401, he would be promoted to the august rank of Commodore and given a series of special assignments by Starfleet Command before finally gaining stewardship of the Fleet Museum at Anthem Prime. Mr. LaForge went to work and decided he was going to repair the Enterprise-D to its original condition. A bit difficult considering half of it had exploded. He would find a perfectly good secondary hull just lying around, apparently, and used it to restore the iconic look of the Galaxy-class starship. As revealed by the Commodore himself, the USS Syracuse donated her engines and warp nacelles, therefore fully restoring the Stardrive section of the Enterprise-D. Happy Stardrive. Now, considering how many Galaxy-class starships were used in the Dominion War, some probably did lose their saucers, and there were numerous scrapyards with resources for such restoration projects like the Enterprise-D, so that doesn't really surprise me too much. And my fellow deep lore nerds will also remember that at least 12 space frames were completed and then sent off to storage in secure facilities throughout the Federation. This is mentioned, of course, in the Next Generation Technical Manual. The Syracuse is a ship itself mentioned in the personnel file of Alphonse Pacelli, who, after serving on the USS Philadelphia, was assigned to the Syracuse on stardate 40276.2. Pacelli would be transferred to the USS Enterprise-D on stardate 40299.5 and seen on the ship in background several times. Now, remember I mentioned scrapyards in passing just a second ago? We actually got to see one, and not just any one. A one that we would see in Picard Season 3 is from the Battle of Chintoka, which, as one of our recent videos will happily tell you, happened during the Dominion War. And it shows quite clearly that there are a lot of large segments of hull debris, sometimes even nearly intact starships. So Geordi could have easily requested one of these, preferably a Galaxy-class, I suppose, to use for his project. Making a Galaxy-class starship brand new is a big project, and Geordi himself, however great an engineer he is, still had a lot on his hands because he was trying to restore a broken one. He does therefore mention that the port nacelle casing especially was giving him a lot of guff. Geordi also mentions the use of drones to assist in operating the Galaxy-class vessel, now only being piloted by a handful of crew, namely the TNG main cast. These drones are most likely dot droids, seen in Star Trek Discovery, but fairly recently as well in Star Trek Picard. You can also see them on the hull of the USS Titan A, repairing the ship after the battle in the Ryton Nebula. These drones may also have assisted in the reconstruction effort as well. At least we hope so, because otherwise, what exactly is Geordi LaForge? It's a scary question. In 2401, Starfleet and the Federation would deal with a conspiracy perpetuated by an alliance of rogue changelings and the Borg Queen, of all people, of the original Borg Collective. The two forces would band together, replacing Starfleet officers with changeling doppelgangers and implementing a fleet mode on all Federation starships which would allow for the automated takeover of Starfleet vessels, as well as changing codes on ship transporters to embed organic receivers in young Starfleet officers, which would immediately assimilate them on command. That was convenient. With our next generation crew needing a ship that was not connected to the Starfleet mainframe, Geordi would reveal the rebuilt USS Enterprise-D. And with our crew as well as automated drones, he would utilize the ship to take out a Borg megacube, which housed the Borg Queen and transmitted the signal, taking over the young Starfleet officers. The Enterprise-D, perhaps not needing as much use with inertial dampeners and only having a living crew on the bridge, would enter the Borg megastructure and locate the ship's heart with the cunning application of drift racing. Therein they discovered a massive transmitter sending orders to the recently taken over Starfleet officers, now Borg drones. They would also rescue Jack Crusher, son of Picard and Beverly Crusher, who, though also being the son of Locutus, was acting as the voice of the Borg, Vox of Borg, in taking over Starfleet officers and giving the assimilation commands. Talk about a family legacy. After the victorious battle at Jupiter, where the Borg megacube had appeared, and the battle at Earth with the fleet, the Enterprise-D was returned to the Fleet Museum at Entham Prime and would have its own berth, right next to the Enterprise-A and just next door to the Stargazer. How nice. The original crew of the Enterprise-D said one final farewell on the bridge and departed. Mr. LaForge promises to take good care of the Enterprise. But if he doesn't, well, plenty more skeletons left in the closets, aren't there? But that is how the iconic USS Enterprise-D returned to service and saved Starfleet one final time. What did you think of seeing it again? I was happy. Were you happy? I was so happy! I think that was the point they were trying to make. Would you like to see it again? At least the Galaxy class, sometime soon? But for now, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, as I mentioned at the start of the video, hit that subscribe button and never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. But until then, I've been Lieutenant Commander Adam. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends.